What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Stokastic Fantasy Football channel, and we have got another great strategy video. We are going through the typical draft strategies that you see throughout the fantasy football industry and throughout your fantasy drafts. And here to break down the highest testosterone strategy there is in all of fantasy football, the zero wide receiver, the robust RB strategy. Breaking it down with me, as always, Nick Lepri. Follow him at Notorious FNTSY on Twitter. Nick, how are you today, bud?
I am doing great, and I completely agree. Only these true alpha males of this world, or the alpha females, are drafting with the zero wide receiver draft strategy. That's just how you got to do it, and it's going to be very fun to talk about this strategy again. I've said this in every draft strategy video. Please make sure you don't enter the draft thinking, oh shit, I need to go zero wide receiver. Let the draft fall to you. But this is definitely a good outline on how you guys are going to see the zero wide receiver draft strategy actually work if you were to do it in a fantasy draft.
Yep, we're going to break it down with a real live mock draft for you. We're going to show the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Nick, you're always great about saying how the draft goes, even for our folks listening on podcast platforms. But yeah, we're going to talk about first the strategy beginnings, the origins of it, why people still employ it to this day, because it's one of the oldest strategies out there. And then we'll get into an actual draft process. So roll up your sleeves, get those barbells ready, because we are talking about going robust RB today. So Nick, I'll start with you. This is pretty simple. I know most of you get it already, but do you have a basic definition of the zero wide receiver strategy?
Yeah, this is kind of the definition I use for all of these strategies, unless you want to do modified, right? There's a way to do zero wide receiver modified. Maybe you draft a wide receiver in the third round and your first 6 other picks are different positions, right? I understand that you can do that. But for me, zero wide receiver means I'm not drafting a wide receiver in the first 4 or 5 rounds. Now, you can go real crazy. You can go real deep and go, maybe if you're in a league with 2 flexes, you want to start 4 running backs, that's okay. Go 6 rounds deep. But for me, 4 or 5 rounds deep is kind of my definition of what a zero wide receiver draft is. But again, with all of these draft strategies, there are different definitions depending on who you ask.
Definitely. I have a little bit more of a refined definition, and it's taking more RBs, at least one more running back than you can even start before you start focusing on the other positions. And now, if you're first getting into fantasy football, maybe there's one person out there who's listening to this. This is maybe their first, one of a dozen shows about fantasy football they've listened to. The running back, from a positional value standpoint, particularly the bell cow running back who gets upwards of 20 opportunities a game, sometimes more, is more valuable than any other singular type of player in fantasy football. So we should just get that out of the way to get back to basics. And so, from the beginning of time in fantasy football, there have been people in drafts who have tried to hoard that position in order to have the best probability of having those bell cow running backs and the ones that can truly dominate fantasy leagues in a way that almost no other type of player can. So there is upside there. There is also great fragility in this strategy as well. First of all, you're foregoing, from an opportunity cost standpoint, I should say, you're foregoing all the other positions, which means, Nick, you're not getting anyone good at that position unless you get really, really lucky. And there's a literal fragility of the running back position, because I don't know if you guys heard this, but they're getting tackled because they have the ball. So that obviously naturally increases injury probability for these types of players. And we can kind of say that bell cow running backs, there have been a lot of different studies. There are different ways to quantify this. Basically, there is about a 1 in 4 chance that they miss 4 or more games in a full season. So think about that. In terms of fragility, they all have that. That doesn't stop people from taking this strategy to the nth degree, right, Nick?
Yeah, definitely not. And the zero wide receiver draft strategy almost feels like a lost art. It seems like everyone's now on the zero running back train. Even though zero wide receiver was established when Fred Flintstone was walking the earth, it seems like people aren't doing this anymore, but I still like doing it. I'm a huge, robust running back guy, so I'm very excited to get into this, and I hope this video does help all you guys.
Yeah, and I will say, I think in a league where you might be more league and NFL savvy than the rest of your fantasy league mates, this might actually be a strategy you can get away with more so than your other league mates, because you can be listening to the Stokastic Fantasy Football channel all year long, looking at our Stokastic rankings and kind of getting the values at the other positions because you've known about them all summer long. In a league that's really competitive, it's not necessarily the best idea to leave value on the table and take more running backs than you can even start, albeit that is the definition for me. One more so that you have a bell cow even on your bench, possibly, that you can trade away, because I guarantee you they'll have trade value if they are a bell cow. You want to get into this one?
Yeah, let's do it. And I think that definition is very similar to kind of what I said, because if you're going 0 running back through the first 4 or 5 rounds, you're almost basically going to do that anyways in a lot of situations, right? Unless, of course, the quarterback tight end value is there and you take it. So we are going to be doing this draft from the 5th overall spot. You can really do this from anywhere in the draft, in my opinion, but I think earlier on is where you're going to find the best running backs, those workhorse running backs. So I think it makes the most sense to do it in the top 5. Do you agree?
We better get our boy. I absolutely agree, but we better get our boy. You know who it is. I don't want to jinx it.
I assume the chat knows, too. The chat, as if this is live, but based on all these videos, it's been pretty clear. So, we just got screwed, but it was Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, and Austin Eckler, the first 5 picks. I'm starting to think that maybe it is not going to be the ordinary of every single draft that Jonathan Taylor gets taken number 1 overall, like it is in best ball drafts. But here at the 105, Eckler is gone, the player that we probably
I'm going to make an executive decision. Let's give the 4th overall pick let's give them Cooper Kupp, just so that we can execute this strategy and not deviate from our player evaluation as much as we would in order to force this strategy. Just to let you know, guys, if you're just listening to the podcast, we had a very interesting first 4 picks in this mock draft. Obviously, it's a computer, and it went McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler. I don't think that is representative of most people's drafts in 2022. Obviously, every league is different. People hoard running backs, as we said, but we wouldn't be executing this strategy blindly going into our fantasy drafts. We would be taking the value as it is. So assuming this new revamped 1 through 4, which is McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, then it would allow us to execute by starting with Austin Eckler, who we have right there in our consensus rankings.
I agree. And I think right there, honestly, I would have been fine taking Najee Harris. I'm a little bit more confident about him than you, maybe.
I'm starting to creep up, especially that Mike Tomlin interview where they're talking about what type of leadership they expect from Najee Harris. That dude's going to touch the ball a lot. They really, really like him in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I agree. So after him with Eckler comes Najee Harris, Justin Jefferson, his teammate Dalvin Cook, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Alvin Kamara, who looks like he's going to get the ban hammer smacked on him, CeeDee Lamb, Deebo Samuel, and DeAndre Swift. And what I meant by that is it seems like the NFL is looking to lay 6-game suspension onto Alvin Kamara. That's for a different video, though. We didn't have to pick him. So with Josh Allen still on the board, would you be looking quarterback here? I personally wouldn't be. What do you want to do?
Not in your regular fantasy league. Absolutely not. I see him there, 3rd on that list. I am so much higher than consensus on Saquon Barkley. I think that offense has improved. I think the coaching staff has improved. I think the front office has improved. And I think Saquon Barkley will finally be healthy for the first time in 2 seasons. Please pick him for this team.
Okay, so you'd rather take Saquon Barkley over Aaron Jones?
Yes, I would. Aaron Jones is right with him. Like, if I had a chance to get them both, I would be thrilled.
Okay, we can go Saquon Barkley. He would not be my pick here. I think I would either go Aaron Jones or Mark Andrews at this pick. But we can go with Saquon Barkley. I completely understand the upside argument. I completely understand that he's fully healthy. The Giants are much better, right? They don't have that stooge Joe Judge as the head coach anymore. So
and I count Mark Andrews as going into a wide receiver strategy. I think 0 wide receiver, I guess technically, since it's the tight end position, it's not 0 wide receiver. I guess I'm trying to lean too hard into robust RB, but I guess I'm just that high T. I don't know what to say.
I Yes, so after Barkley came Mark Andrews, A.J. Brown, Leonard Fournette, Josh Allen, A.A. Ron Jones, Kyle Pitts, Pat Mahomes, and Justin Herbert. We're back up on the board here. 3 quarterbacks gone, 3 tight ends gone. Again, you don't seem like you want to go tight end or quarterback here, so it seems like we're on running back again. Who would the answer be here? Because for me, it is quite clear who I would pick.
Okay, so this is a very, very interesting part of the draft. We have 2 running backs, so let's make our decisions based on the fact that we already have 2 running backs. In that situation, I actually think Javonte Williams is a better upside play, but hear me out, Nick. If we are trying to hoard opportunities, which is staying in the spirit of the 0 wide receiver strategy, the robust RB strategy, I think James Conner and David Montgomery are 2 players that are going to get a lion's share of the workload on their team. If you want 20 opportunities from all of your first 3 picks, Javonte Williams may not be that pick. He's going to share time with Melvin Gordon, and Ezekiel Elliott will share time with Tony Pollard as well.
Yes, I completely agree. My pick would have been James Conner in this scenario. I think James Conner is going to be the workhorse running back. There's no more worries about Chase Edmonds, obviously, now that he's in Miami. And while James Conner's numbers weren't fantastic last year, he was heavily carried by the touchdown total. I think even if the touchdown total dips, even if he's at maybe 14, 15 touchdowns, I think that all of the other numbers will increase. So James Conner would be the pick here. You agree?
Ooh, yeah, let's do it. But even 14, 15 touchdowns. I'm really hoping that James Conner gets executed.
It's executed.
Oh my God. They work him into the passing game significantly more because they don't really have other options there.
I agree.
That, that didn't come out great.
All right, after James Conner.
I love James Conner. He's a great player.
Comes Ezekiel Elliott, Mike Evans, Javonte Williams, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Cam Akers, George Kittle, David Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, Tee Higgins, Darren Waller, Deontay Johnson, Josh Jacobs, and Breece Hall. We're having a robust running back off with Team 6 here. This is just 2 alpha brains right here going up against each other.
It's really true. Yeah, throw the alpha brain into your morning supplement because that's what you're going to need now. I do think that because there is a robust RB team right next to us, it would be smart to consider quarterback or tight end here, especially because I love the running backs that should be available as we come around the bend. And we can't start another one technically. So this is where I think we can execute this strategy intelligently instead of blindly. So
yeah,
I think if there is a quarterback or tight end available that kind of suits our need, Lamar Jackson is certainly someone I think is an absolute game changer at the position. And in terms of odds to be the #1 overall quarterback, significantly higher than TJ Hawkinson's odds of being the #1 overall tight end if we're going for a onesie position.
Yeah, I would definitely go with Lamar Jackson. We are doing robust running back, and he is a running back, of course, so that does make sense.
Yeah, he's not bad for one either.
Yeah,
let's go Lamar Jackson. I love this team.
I don't love the tight ends. I don't think that you should be taking TJ Hawkinson, any of these guys, that close to Waller and all these other players. So Lamar Jackson would be my pick. I completely agree. So after we go with Lamar Jackson comes Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, J.K. Dobbins, 2 guys with abbreviations as their names. That abbreviations. What do you call that? One's DJ, JK. What's that called?
Acronyms.
Acronyms. I don't think that's the word, but whatever. Joe Burrow, abbreviation. Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman. We're back up on the board here. 4 running backs, actually. No, I'm just kidding. 3 running backs, 1 quarterback. We're back up on the board here. We still looking to go robust. We're going to go with Travis Etienne. There's a little bit of noise. Maybe James Robinson going to come back a little bit early. Does that worry you a little?
So I think if we're really executing the 0 wide receiver hoarding RB strategy, it's our duty to take 1 more right now and then be done with the position because we're going to have to focus elsewhere. So I love Travis Etienne. Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year I think is very undervalued in fantasy. I'm happy to take them, especially because I can sit and wait, right? I don't need Travis Etienne to be a league winner right from the get-go. Look at my running backs. I don't even have to start him. So in the spirit of the strategy, I'm not sure that would be my highest projected player, but it's not far off. Etienne is, he's right there in terms of positional value. Maybe not perfect for me, but for the strategy, Dude, let's do it. I might actually do this in a home league where I feel like I can get wide receiver value on the waivers.
Okay. I'm fine doing this as well. My pick probably would be if we weren't just adhering to the strategy, I probably would have went either Allen Robinson or Cortland Sutton,
Me
but I am
too.
fine going ETN here. So since we have picked Travis Etienne, it is the perfect time to bring up the sponsor of today's video, Underdog Fantasy, which is the best place to play fantasy football this summer. The Best Ball Mania 3 tournament has $10 million in total prize money. All you got to do is draft your team, and that's it. My favorite part about fantasy football, this guy's a real alpha right here, 6 running backs in a row. But what I like to do about fantasy football, my favorite part is the draft. We do a bunch of mock drafts. We love talking about the draft. That's the most fun part. But on Underdog Fantasy, all you got to do is draft your team. That's it. There's no waivers. There's no worry about having to call up your buddy to try to make a trade. He's not answering his phone. It doesn't matter, right? You don't need to trade. There's no in-season management. So it's just all you got to do is set it and you forget it. You can come back in January and have a boatload of cash. Underdog gives you the best score every single week. Again, you don't have to set your lineup. Last year's Best Ball Mania champion drafted in June. Guess what month it is right now? It's June. So you can win all of that money drafting right now. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100 when you sign up using promo code AWESEMO. AWESEMO. That's good for 4 entries into the Best Ball Mania 3 or 20 entries, if my math helps me out here, into the Puppy Butt Superflex brand new draft. Head on over to UnderdogFantasy.com or in the App Store, or just click on the link in the video description, probably also in the pinned comment. Again, promo code AWESEMO. So we're back up on the board here. We have 4 running backs, 1 quarterback. Where are we looking here? I feel like right now we're almost at the point where we have to deviate to a wide receiver.
This is the time. And this is actually kind of fun. I know we got 45 seconds left. My pick here would be Mike Williams over Amon-Ra St. Brown and Brandon Cooks. And as we come around the bend, I can explain it more. But right now, because we don't have wide receivers and we waited so long, I actually need to make that up in touchdowns, not opportunities for wide receivers. Touchdowns are the big out for the wide out position. And while Brandon Cooks is certainly going to get more opportunities overall than Mike Williams, he's on an offense that just may not score consistently. Adam Thielen would absolutely have been my next pick. I do think wide receiver or tight end is where I'm going here. This is where your boy Drake London gets really interesting, right? Because now we're seeking upside, and wide receiver 1 upside on a team, that's what we need in the 7th or 8th round in this kind of roster. Do you agree?
Yeah, and I'd say it's basically a lock that he's the number 1 wide receiver, right? If I was a betting man like Calvin Ridley, I would bet on Drake London to be the number 1 receiver in Atlanta.
I love this little Charger stack we got going on. Drake London, I lock it in. Wide receiver 2.
All right, I also like Dallas Goedert, though, but we can go Drake London.
Yeah, if you're playing on the sleeper platform, I do think that you should slightly overvalue Cordero Patterson simply because of his wide receiver running back versatility. I don't agree that he should get both, by the way, but hey, that's how it is. That's on the platform. That's just very helpful.
I was going to say, I think NFL was like that last year because I had him, and I'm pretty sure I could start him at running back or wide receiver. I had him in every single league, but I don't remember if you could or not. I just think you can, so doesn't matter. After that was Dak Prescott, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Russell Wilson, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Cordero Patterson, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, Tony Pollard, Aaron Rodgers, Dallas Goedert, Chase Edmonds, and then Tyler Lockett in my pocket.
All right. If I had to say, we're picking a wide receiver, and we need more outs because we need touchdown probability. Who on the board looks like he's going to have the most opportunity to get extra touchdowns compared to expectation?
Gabe Davis.
Yes, sir. You saw it in that Chiefs game in the de facto AFC Championship, despite it not actually being the AFC Championship. I don't know from an opportunity standpoint if Renfro's actually going to have more opportunities, but he won't have the same amount of touchdown ops. It's Gabe Davis for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. Based upon the build we have, I would almost be thinking like we're taking the kind of riskier wide receivers, but with the highest ceiling is also a way to think about it, right? Like Drake London might be a little risky because he's a rookie, but could really blow up. Same thing with Mike Williams. So we're going to go with Gabe Davis here. I would probably pick Hunter Renfrow because he's significantly safer, but the upside of Gabe Davis really could be a top 16 receiver if this Buffalo Bills offense continues to be that good. Speaking of the Buffalo Bills, Devin Singletary picked after that. Rashad Penny, Brandon Ayuk, Zach Ertz, Hunter Renfrow, Chris Olave, Dawson Knox, another Buffalo Bill, and then another Buffalo Bill in James Cook. we're back up on the board here. We got 1 quarterback, 3 running backs, actually 4 running backs, and 3 wide receivers. We still don't have a tight end, but we're kind of in the tight end, not necessarily a dead zone, but the point where I'm not as excited about the tight end position.
Yeah, the only tight end that interests me is Albert O because of the quality of the offense he's playing on. Russell Wilson has a history of enjoying targeting the tight end, not necessarily one particular tight end, but he has thrown a bunch of touchdowns to tight end in his career.
Yeah.
I actually think it's the wide out position once again because I think we have still some star players or possible stars. I think Sky Moore's on the table. I think Kadarius Toney is absolutely on the table in an improved offense. I like Christian Watson quite a bit. And even Jameson Williams, who will likely be stepping into a wide receiver 1 role, but not right away. If he ends up going onto the PUP list or being injured those first few weeks, that'll also be a free roster spot if you're considering this to be your home league. So Jameson Williams is someone I have a little bit higher, thinking I might actually get to put them in IR and get an extra, basically an extra draft pick with my waiver wire pick. How about you?
Yeah, you're not interested in a top 3 wide receiver in Chase Claypool? You see that?
I mean,
what
did he say? Receiver. He thinks he's top 3. Hey, if you want to bet on the Steelers being competent after that interview I saw with Mike Tomlin, yeah, maybe he can. Maybe he can train Kenny Pickett into like a serious contender, or Mitch Trubisky. I don't know. But I think Chase Claypool is a risky pick, especially considering the volume that he may or may not get.
All right. So my pick will be Kadarius Toney here. You good with that?
Absolutely.
All right. So I like Kadarius Toney. I also like Kenny Galladay, though. So I'm not going to tell you that I'm 100% mortal lock of the century that Kadarius Toney is going to be the number 1 receiver. But I do think that Kadarius Toney has a lot of talent. And I do think that it would be shocking if this Giants offense wasn't better than it was last year, right? The offense absolutely sucked. Joe Judge was a buffoon calling like run plays, QB sneaks on 3rd and 4,000 yards. It was stupid. The guy's an idiot. That's why he's fired. That's why Brian Daboll is the head coach. So I like Toney. After we go with Kadarius Toney comes Mike Likiamagasicki, Pat Fryermouth, Matt Stafford, Michael Carter, Melvin Gordon, Christian Watson, Trey Lance, Chase Claypool, Christian Kirk, Robert Woods, Isaiah Spiller, James Robinson, Sky Moore with 2 Ys, and Alan Lazard. We're up again.
This is very, very different than Underdog, our sponsor for the day. You will never see Russell Gage available at this point in the draft, in a real draft. I'm sorry. You won't. This dude's getting 100 targets from Tom Brady. Like, we have to pick him.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I agree.
We have to pick him.
It really hinges on Mr. Chris Godwin. I think if Godwin is healthy 2 weeks in the season, I think maybe Gage ends up not playing as well, but he's a 10th round pick, right? Can you
but Nick, this is an offense that absolutely can have 3 quality options. I mean, true. Gronk, AB, Evans, and Godwin were hitting. Like 4 of the 5 of them would hit in some weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Gronk
Tom Brady's got 5 touchdown upside when he plays bad defenses. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, even good defenses. I mean, Gronk just got picked. Real quick, your opinion. Does Gronk play this year? My opinion is 100%, even though he retired.
It's so funny. One of my best buddies said over under 0.5 games for Gronk, and we all around the table said over.
Yeah, I think you could set that at like 8, and I'd still take the over.
Well, I don't know injuries and shit for him, especially, but you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if he stays healthy, though. So after Gage comes Derek Carr, Rob Gronkowski, Deshaun Watson, Ramondre Stevenson, Michael Gallup, Jameson Williams, Alexander Madison, and my boy Hunter Henry. We're back up on the board. We still don't have a tight end. This almost feels like a draft where we need to take 2, potentially. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, let's hop on over there. What available tight ends we got here? Cole Kmet. Yeah, here's our boy Alberto. I think that this is a great time to take Alberto. To be honest with you, Nick, I'll probably in a home league, like we're working this out to be, I'll take Alberto here, and then just if I need a second tight end, I'll get him on the waiver wire later. That'll probably be it for the tight end position for me.
Yeah, that's what I do most of the time. Just really depends on the value, right? Because we're back in the 14th round, and Tanyan is still there, a guy who may end up on the PUP, but you can just throw on the IR spot. I'd be pretty interested in taking him, but obviously depends how the draft goes. So after Albert O, and Gajeski also knows how to pronounce this guy's name. He said it in the video we recorded today. I was so impressed. I was like, how do you know how to say it? I don't know.
You don't know if it's right. I don't know.
That might have been pretty close. That sounded good.
So in my opinion, we're going to talk about this at the end, but I think we executed the robust RB or zero wide receiver strategy correctly, while the person who is in team 6 executed it blindly, and we have a very different team structure. I actually think now we have the freedom to go pure upside with wide receiver picks, and that usually means some rookies. A player like Jahan Dotson, he doesn't have an incompetent quarterback in Carson Wentz. We don't know that Terry McLaurin's going to get every single pass. Even George Pickens, I'm fine taking them. Rondale Moore is the one that I think you can guarantee both snap share, playing time, and opportunity share, especially in the beginning of the season. I like going there because of the fact that I think Kyler Murray is going to get them into the red zone, into the end zone. So not only do you have increased opportunity, second round draft capital, but you also have more touchdown upside than an offense like Pittsburgh or Washington.
Okay, my pick would be Dotson. It seems like a lot of the beat reporters are talking about right now. What does that really mean? Who fucking knows, right? It's June, but I like the fact that he was drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, and I like that you can get him in the 12th round. And if we're hunting for upside, I think a first round draft capital wide receiver on an offense where he should be the number 2 guy makes sense to me.
I think we might be able to get 2 of these players in this tier, so I'm all for Dotson. Let's do it.
All right. I also like honorable mention DJ Chark, depending on the health of Jameson Williams.
I do too, actually. That offense is really improved. It's tough for me to bet on Hawkinson for that reason, but the rest of that offense, I'm fine betting on, including Swift at the top of the draft.
All right, so we have 2 picks left. Again, doesn't seem like we really want to go with another tight end here. I'd be fine taking Tunyon with the last pick if he was available, but we're not there yet. Sure. What wide receiver screams upside to you? I think for me, we already have Gabe Davis, so Jameson Crowder's a guy I like to target late. Again, I don't really know if he's going to be the number 2 receiver. Gabe Davis probably will be, but would it surprise you if Jameson Crowder out-targeted Gabe Davis? Wouldn't surprise me, if I'm being honest with you. But Alec Pierce, Jalen Tolbert would kind of be where I'm looking here.
I think Jameson is a great end of draft pick in your home leagues this year. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. The way Cole Beasley would have certain games where he would just be a double-digit target monster. If teams are trying to take away the deep pass and Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, the big playability of those 2 players, then underneath is going to be open. And Dawson Knox and O.J. Howard are going to get opportunities, but Jameson Crowder, man, he's good. I love that pick.
You're fine, even though we have Gabe Davis?
I'm fine with it. Absolutely fine with it.
Okay, then we'll go with Jameson Crowder here. I like that pick a lot. I
wouldn't be fine with it if we didn't expect Buffalo to be scoring plenty of touchdowns, right? Because we need that. I keep saying that the player doesn't get that much volume, but because they caught a touchdown, they were just fine to start anyway.
Okay, so seems like the tight end that I wanted is gone, so we don't need to take another one. Should we just take a flyer on another running back, or you just want to go receiver again?
Well, we did Gus Edwards last time. Let's go pure upside. To me, the best pure upside pick, actually, it's Brian Robinson. But Tyrion Davis-Price, he didn't have the draft capital we want to see, but what does that matter to the San Francisco coaching staff? We saw 6th-rounder Elijah Mitchell take over this backfield just last year. So Davis-Price, Zamir White, Brian Robinson, all in the running for me. Jamal Williams and Gus Edwards are totally different floor picks, not for our style of roster.
Yeah, for me, the reason why I like Tyrion Davis-Price is not because of necessarily the player he is, but because the team could just randomly decide that he is the guy. And if he does have that hot hand, meaning he's the guy that is doing well when they give him the opportunity, then he could take over for Elijah Mitchell. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But would it surprise me? Also, the answer is no, because Kyle Shanahan's fucking crazy. So we can go with any of these guys. I mean, again, he's just the guy that's going to ride the pine that we could eventually cut. But the problem with Tyrion Davis-Price is you're going to cut him, and then that we could cut him is when he goes fucking crazy.
That's how it goes.
So do you want to go with, we can go with really any of these guys. I like Brian.
I like Tyrion. I think Tyrion's a great pick. Have some faith in yourself.
Shout out to Tyrion Lannister. Just kidding.
That's
Tyrion
right.
Davis-Price, my boy. All right, Jalen Tolbert, Mac Jones, Hayden Hurst, and Gus Bus Edwards to close out the draft. Real quick, we'll recap our team, and then we could talk a little bit about it for maybe another minute or two. So we started the draft with Austin Eckler, followed by Saquon Barkley, James Conner, Lamar Jackson, Travis Etienne, Mike Williams, Drake London, Gabe Davis, Kadarius Toney, Russell Gage, Albert O, and then Jahan Dotson, Jameson Crowder, and Tyrion Davis-Price. How do you like our team? How you feeling?
So we obviously, if someone would look at our draft, they say the wide receiver position looks weak. Yeah. Fair enough. The median projections for some of these players are, well, middling. Mike Williams, Drake London, Gabe Davis. They all have a certain level of uncertainty when it comes to their projections for this year. But look at the teams that we're going to be rooting for any given Sunday. We're going to be rooting for Justin Herbert's Chargers. We're going to be rooting for Kyler Murray's Cardinals to get into the red zone so James Conner can score. We're going to be rooting for Josh Allen's Bills. We're going to be rooting for Tom Brady's Buccaneers. You getting a sense here? We're going to be rooting for Russell Wilson's Broncos. We have tied ourselves to touchdown upside all over the place. The only team I'm upset we're not tied to at all is Kansas City, but the rest are just one-off stars. Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, we've seen those players be stars. And even Drake London, a first-rounder with super high draft capital, we're betting on the probability that he could be a star. Same with Etienne. That's how you build out upside on your team. Touchdown upside and high draft capital upside from one-off players. Now, let's talk about Team 6 for a minute, because Team 6, without us knowing, thank you, algorithm, for showing us a robust RB strategy that, in my opinion, was executed poorly. Not saying this team can end up winning the league, especially if one of those 6 running backs they started off with are league winners, or 2 of them especially. But they went Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, Ezekiel Elliott. Remember, that's the cutoff line. They no longer can start the rest of these running backs to start the year. They next draft Breece Hall, Elijah Mitchell, Chase Edmonds. They end up with a decent quarterback core of Dak Prescott and Jameis Winston, but their tight ends are lacking in Mike Gesicki and Irv Smith. We're talking like you may have weeks where you see 3 or 4 targets maximum from either player. It means you have to choose which one to start, and you're still only getting 4 targets. And they also, I guess they have some decent ties to decent offenses in Allen Lazard and Marcus Valdes-Scantling, but those are 2 offenses that are wide open in terms of potential opportunity. This team just doesn't have a ton of outs in the way that ours does. And so I feel much, much safer about the way that our team is built than this Team 6, even though we both executed similar strategies. How about you?
Yeah, Team 6 is going to 100% have to trade one of these running backs if they want to win. I 100% believe that. Like, you can't be starting Tyler Lockett, Allen Lazard, MVS, Jacoby Myers every single week, right? They're going to have to either pick someone up off the waiver wire that ends up being a stud, which is possible, right? It's pretty easy. Not easy, but every year there's the Amon-Ra St. Brown you can pick up off the waiver wire, right? That dominates and then comes off the board in the 5th, 6th round the next season. But when you have this many running backs in a row, right? Even though I'm not the highest on Breece Hall, like, eventually you're going to just have to trade. Like, if Breece Hall has a great game, you're just going to have to trade him or trade one of these guys for another wide receiver, because you just can't win with a build like this, especially since they drafted 2 tight ends and none of these wide receivers scream super high upside besides, I would say, Allen Lazard.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Obviously, range of outcomes is a thing. Injuries are a thing. And we're singing a different tune in week 6 if 3 of those 6 are injured, but they still have 3 flying horsemen at the running back position. And we're like, wow, glad they drafted 6. Any draft strategy can win any year. That's what makes fantasy football fun. But I think we executed the strategy more intelligently than this algorithm. At least today, the robots lose. That's what I say. Nick, this has been super fun. Any last words before we get out of here?
Yeah, just when you're doing these drafts, look at the other teams around you, because you can see the computer just does all the other draft strategies. Right here, we have Hero, or anchor running back, right here, pick number 3 with Jonathan Taylor and then all these players. There's a bunch of other strategies. We saw 0 running back with team number 10. So the computer also utilizes draft strategies. I don't know how that happens. I'm not a fucking robot, but yeah. It just does it. So it's very interesting to see when you're doing these drafts to look around. So thank you guys for watching today's video. I hope you guys did end up enjoying. Again, if you use promo code AWESOMO on Underdog, it will give you a $100 first match deposit bonus, meaning if you deposit $100, you will get another $100. That's $200 for the price of $100, which makes sense. that you would want to do it. So make sure you guys check that out. We'll be drafting on there every single Monday on the Best Ball channel with the chat. If you guys want to join in, typically we talk for like 5 minutes beforehand to make sure that if you guys do want to watch the draft and you want to draft with us, you guys can get on in there. Next week, we will be doing the $5, the puppy but super flex draft, I believe is what it is called. Super flex. Definitely very interesting. The thing's already at 23% fill. So if you guys want to get in on that, if you guys like super flex leagues like I do, you might want to hop on there before it's too late, because in reality, too late might be 8 days from now. It might be full. So thank you guys for watching. You got anything to add here, Matt, before we skedaddle our way out of here?
Great job today, man. Follow him at Notorious FNTSY. I am at Draftaholic on Twitter. My name's Matt. He's Nick. Have a great day, guys.
Adios.